So if you're like most drivers, you're focused on the engine, the tires, keeping the car running. The last thing on your mind is probably your windshield.
Right, until it's the only thing on your mind.
Exactly. You're cruising on I-205, and then you hear that awful, just heart-stopping thwack of a rock hitting the glass.
Yeah.
And it's instant panic. That tiny little chip just completely ruins your commute. And it opens up all these questions. Is this going to cost me? Will my rates go up?
And that moment of uncertainty, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We took your sources, all the detailed articles, the policy outlines, the repair standards, and our mission is pretty clear.
We want to cut through all that confusion.
We're going to cut through it. We want you to understand the language of deductibles, the surprising economics of just fixing a small chip, and why modern windshields are so much more complex than they used to be.
Absolutely. The goal here is clarity. Clarity that lets you take quick action. We want to show you the key role comprehensive coverage plays and really the hidden financial win in most policies.
Which is getting those small chips fixed right away.
Yes. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to handle that damage without the financial stress and, maybe more importantly, without messing with your car's safety features.
So let's start at the very beginning, because I think the biggest misconception is just figuring out what type of coverage even applies here.
Okay, let's unpack that right away.
Yeah.
Because I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I always assumed if I hit anything, even a tiny rock kicked up by a truck, it had to be related to collision coverage.
That's incredibly common.
So where does that thinking go wrong?
Well, the difference really comes down to control. Collision coverage is for when your vehicle, collides with another car or an object. It's a driving accident.
Right, like backing into a pole.
Exactly. But glass damage from debris or hail or an ice chunk falling off a roof, that's an incident that's completely outside of your control. It's sometimes called an act of God or just a non-collision event.
So if a rock chip happens, the safety net that's supposed to catch you is almost always comprehensive coverage.
That's right. Comprehensive is your non-collision shield. It protects you from falling debris, that's the rock on the highway, but also things like theft, vandalism, fire, even hailstorms or a fallen tree branch.
So if you have comprehensive, your windshield is generally covered for all those non-accident things.
It is.
And what's really important for you, the listener, to know then is that if all you have is minimum liability insurance, you are completely on your own for that rock chip.
Yes, precisely. Liability only covers damage you do to other people and their property. It gives you zero protection for your own car, and that includes your windshield.
And collision won't help either in this case.
Nope. Collision is great if you get in a fender bender, but it does nothing for that deer strike or the vandalism that cracks your glass. You need comprehensive for that stuff.
So our first action item for you is really simple, but it's critical. Before you ever hear that thwack, just take 5 minutes and look your insurance declarations page.
Make sure you actually have comprehensive.
Yeah, confirm you carry it. So many people just assume they have glass coverage until they actually need it, and then they find out they skipped it.
Knowing you have it is half the battle. But the real game changer is understanding how the money part of that coverage is actually designed to help you be proactive.
Okay, so now that we know what covers the damage, the next thing everyone thinks about is the cost, the dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
We immediately think deductible, which is usually a few $100. But this is where the source material gave us a really fascinating insight into the economics of small chip repairs.
This is where the insurance companies actually become your partner in prevention. What's amazing is that for small chip repairs, we're talking damage smaller than, say, a dollar bill, a lot of insurers will waive the deductible completely.
Meaning your out-of-pocket cost is often zero?
Nothing.
Zero. That sounds almost too good to be true, but there's a very practical business reason for it, isn't there?
It's just smart business. A quick chip repair might cost the insurer, $75? But that little repair stops the chip from spreading into a huge crack, which it almost always will because of temperature changes or road vibrations.
And if that happens, they're on the hook for a much bigger bill.
Exactly. A full windshield replacement could cost them $500, $800, maybe even $1,500 on a newer car. So they'd rather spend $75 now to save hundreds or thousands later.
So they're incentivizing prevention, which is a rare win-win. It's a huge insight. If you see a chip, the smart move is to get it fixed immediately before it grows.
It is. But that whole financial picture, it changes dramatically when you need a full replacement because the chip is already spread or it's right in your line of sight.
That's when the deductible comes into play.
That's when you typically have to pay your comprehensive deductible, which for a lot of policies is somewhere between $250 and $500. You pay that first, and the insurer covers the rest.
But the sources also mentioned that's not always the case, even for a full replacement.
Correct. Some people buy specific full glass coverage as an add-on. It's a rider on your policy that guarantees a zero deductible, even for a complete replacement.
Probably worth it if you have an expensive car or drive on gravel roads a lot.
Could be. And we should mention the location thing. Some states actually mandate this zero deductible coverage, but the sources are very clear. Oregon is not one of them.
So you can't just assume your replacement is free. You have to check your actual policy.
Right. But here's the biggest relief for almost everyone listening. The number one fear about filing any claim is your rates going up.
Mm-hmm.
But since glass damage from a rock is considered a no-fault incident, I mean, you couldn't have prevented it, these comprehensive claims generally do not affect your insurance rates. You're not punished for using a benefit you pay for.
And that gets rid of the biggest reason people hesitate. Once you know it won't jack up your premium, the decision to file the claim just becomes about the money and the logistics.
So once you decide to move forward, especially with that free chip repair, the process is usually really fast. Filing a glass claim can take just a few minutes.
You can just use the app or call them.
Yeah, most insurers let you report it right on their app or over the phone, and they usually don't need a ton of photos or documents for these small glass claims.
It sounds like they have a fast track for glass, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So once the claim is in, they'll probably give you some options, right? Like steer you towards their preferred repair shops.
They will. And this brings up a really important point about your rights as a consumer, especially for our listeners here in the Northwest.
What's that?
The sources emphasize your right to choose the shop. An insurance company can recommend their network, and they do it for efficiency, maybe better pricing. But in Oregon, the law is on your side. You have the legal right to pick any qualified auto glass shop you want.
So if I have a local shop that I trust, I can insist on using them, even if my insurance company is pushing a big national chain.
Absolutely. They might offer little perks to use their network, like faster scheduling, but the final choice is yours. It ensures you're comfortable with the quality of the work.
And once you've picked the shop, it sounds like the process gets really easy.
It does. The shop pretty much takes over. They'll call the insurer, verify your coverage, confirm your deductible, which again might be zero, and then they bill the insurance company directly.
So you just show up, get it done, and drive off.
Exactly. And to set your expectations on timing, these repairs are usually a priority. You can often get scheduled within 24 to 48 hours.
And the work itself is quick.
A chip repair is lightning fast, maybe 30 minutes. A full windshield replacement, though, you need to set aside more time for that.
Why is that?
Well, a full replacement, especially with the 80 as calibration we need to talk about, that takes about 2 to 3 hours. That extra time is all about making sure your car's safety computers are working perfectly with the new glass.
Okay, so that brings us to quality. And it's not just a nice to have anymore, it's a critical safety issue, especially with that ADAS calibration you mentioned.
Right. And using your insurance, especially their certified network, gives you a big advantage here. Insurance companies vet these shops.
They make sure they're using good materials.
Yes, they require them to use OEM original equipment manufacturer or OEM equivalent glass. So you know you're not getting some cheap, distorted piece of glass that could weaken the car's structure.
And on top of the quality of the materials, you get that peace of mind.
You do. Warranty protection is a huge benefit. Insurance-approved repairs almost always come with a warranty from the shop, and often from the insurer, too. So if something goes wrong, like a leak, you have someone to call.
Now let's get into the complexity. The sources were really clear that replacing glass today is not what it was 5 years ago. It's not just glass and glue anymore.
Not at all. It's basically the high-tech face of your car's computer system, all thanks to ADAS Advanced Driver Assistance Systems.
So what does that include?
Think about all those new safety features. Lane departure warnings, automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control. They all rely on cameras and sensors mounted right on your windshield.
And those sensors have to be aimed perfectly. So when you put in a new piece of glass, you're critically moving the position of those cameras.
You are, and the margin for error is basically zero. If a camera is off by just 1 degree at the windshield, it could be aimed several feet off down the road.
So your lane keeping assist might not work. Or worse.
Or worse, your automatic emergency brake misjudges a hazard. That's why the replacement isn't done until you've done a precise ADAS calibration.
It's like replacing a part in a computer and then forgetting to install the driver for it.
That's a great analogy. If a shop just slaps in the glass without running the static or dynamic calibration, they've basically disabled your car's primary safety systems. A cheap, uncertified replacement is a huge safety risk on modern vehicles.
And this complexity also kind of debunks those old myths about insurance companies, doesn't it?
It does.
The first myth, that a claim will raise your rates, we know is generally false because it's no fault. And the second one, that they push for cheap fixes, that's also false because a bad fix is a massive liability for them now.
Exactly. A reputable shop and a good insurer are both focused on high-quality, perfectly calibrated work.
So we've covered the how and the why. Now let's get to the most practical question for the listener. When is it smarter to file the claim, and when should you just pay for it yourself?
Okay, so for simple repairs, it's an easy decision. If the chip can be repaired and your policy has that zero deductible chip repair we talked about, filing a claim is almost always the right move. You pay nothing.
But the math gets trickier with a full replacement when you have to pay that deductible.
That's when you have to do a direct comparison. You take the total cost for the replacement and put it right up against your deductible.
Okay, let's walk through a couple of examples here.
Sure. Scenario 1, the cheap replacement. Let's say your deductible is $500, pretty standard. You have an older car, and the shop quotes you $400 for a new windshield.
In that case, paying out of pocket saves you $100.
Exactly. If you filed the claim, you'd pay your full $500 deductible anyway, so you're better off just paying the $400 and keeping the claim off your record.
Okay, scenario 2, the expensive replacement. A newer SUV with heated glass and rain sensors. The replacement cost is, say, $850.
Your deductible is still $500, so you pay your $500 and the insurance company covers the remaining $350. Filing the claim here makes total financial sense. You save a lot of money.
And then there's scenario 3, the high-end vehicle.
This is where it gets really expensive. If you have a luxury car with a heads-up display and all the ADAS tech, that windshield can easily cost over $1,500.
So even with a high deductible, like $1,000, you're still saving $500 by filing a claim.
For those high-tech windshields, you pretty much have to file the claim unless you have that full glass coverage rider. Those integrated systems push the cost way up.
And we should just mention that one small caveat again.
Right. While a single glass claim won't affect your rates, the sources do note that having a whole bunch of claims in a very short time, like for theft, collision, and glass, all within 6 months, could make an insurer think twice about renewing your policy.
But for the vast majority of drivers, this is not an issue.
Not at all. Use the benefit you pay for.
So what does this all boil down to? We started with that single, stressful rock chip, and now we have a clear path for dealing with it.
The main takeaways are pretty solid. Comprehensive coverage is your foundation. Getting chips repaired quickly is often free and prevents a much more expensive replacement later. And for any modern car, ADAS calibration isn't optional. It's essential for your safety.
The finances are clear, you know your rights about choosing a shop, and you know how to ensure you get quality work.
But our final thought here shouldn't just be about saving money. It has to connect back to safety and legality. That piece of glass is a key structural part of your car, especially in a rollover.
Right.
Delaying a necessary repair doesn't just mess with your safety features. The sources remind us that a badly cracked windshield could actually violate Oregon's laws on visibility and vehicle safety.
So you could get a ticket.
You could, and that factor, staying safe and legal, is so much more important than trying to save a few bucks on your deductible. Just get the repair done and get it done right away.